How the British saw education. Next, let us look at what the British thought and did and how some of the ideas of education that we now take for granted involved in the last 200 years. Next, in the process of this inquiry, we will also see how Indians reacted to British ideas and how they developed their own view about how Indians were to be educated. Next, in the earlier chapters, you have seen how British rule affected Rajas and the Nawabs, peasants and tribals. In the chapter, we will very understand what had for the lives of students. For the British in Indian wanted not only territorial conquest and control over revenues. Next, they also felt that they had a cultural mission. They had to civilize the native, change their customs and values. What changes were to be introduced? How were Indians to be educated, civilized, and made into what the British believed were good subjects? The British could find no simple answer to these questions. They continued to be debated for many decades. Next, the tradition of Orientalism in 1783, a person named William Jones arrived in Calcutta. He had an appointment as a junior judge at such Supreme Court that the company had set up. In addition to being an expert in law, Jones was licensed. He had studied Greek and Latin and Oxford, knew French and English, had picked up Arabic from a friend and had also learned Persian. At Calcutta, we began spending many hours a day with Pandit, who taught with them slides of Sanskrit language, grammar, and poetry. Soon he was studying ancient Indian texts on law, philosophy, religions, politics, morality, arithmetic, medicine, and the other science. Next, Jones discovered that his interests were shared by many British officials living in Calcutta. At the time, Englishmen like Henry Thomas and Churchill were also busy discovering the ancient Indian heritage, mastering Indian language, and translating Sanskrit and Persian's work into English together with them. John set up the Aztec Society of Bengal and started in general called Aztec. Next, Jones and celebrates Chatterjee Banerjee came to represent a particular attitude towards India. They shared a deep respect for ancient cultures, both of India and West Indian civilizations. They felt had attended its glory in the ancient past, but had subsequently declined. In order to understand India, it was necessary to discover the sacred and legal texts that were produced in the ancient period, for only those texts could reveal the real ideas and laws of the Hindu and Muslim, and only a new study of these texts could form the basis of future development in India. Next, so Jones went about discovering ancient texts, understanding their meaning, translating them, and making their finding now to others. This project they believed would not only help the British learn from Indian culture, but it would also help Indians rediscover their own heritage and understand the lost glories of their past. In this process, the British would become the guardians of Indian culture as well as its masters. Next, Influenced by such ideas, many company officials argued that the British ought to promote India rather than Western learning. They felt that institutions should be set up to encourage the study of ancient Indian texts and teach Sanskrit and Persian literature and poetry. The Indian official also thought and Hindu Muslims ought to be taught what they were already familiar with and what they valued and treasured, not subjects that were aligned to them. Only then they believed could be British hope to win a place in the hearts and the natives. Only there could the aligned rulers expected to be respected by their subject. Next. With this objective in view, Madras was set up in Calcutta in 1781 to promote the study of Arabic, Persian, and Islamic law, and the Hindu College was established in Benares in 1791 to encourage the study of ancient Sanskrit texts that would be useful for the administration of the country. Next, not all officials shared these views. Many were very strong in their citizens of the Orientalizations. Next, grave error of the East. From the early 19th century, many British officials began to criticize the Orientalist vision of learning. They said that knowledge of the East was full of errors and unscientific thoughts. Eastern literature was non-serious and light-hearted too. They argued that it was wrong on the part of the British to spend so much efforts in encouraging the study of Arabic and Sanskrit language and literature. Next, James Mill was one of those who attacked the Orientalist. The British effort is declared should not be to teach what that native wanted or what they respected in order to please them and win a place in their heart. The aim of education ought to be to teach what was useful and practical, so Indians should be made familiar with the scientific and technical advance what that the we had met rather than with the poetry and sacred literature of the Orient. Next, by the 1830s, the attack on the Orientalist became sharper. One of the most outspoken and influential of such criticism of the time was a Thomas Musselius, and he saw Indians as a uncivilized country that needed to be civilized. No branch of Eastern knowledge, according to him, could be compared to what England had produced. Who could Denny declared macularity that a term generally used to refer to a local language of dialect as dentist from was is seen as the standard language in colonial countries like India. The British used the learn to make the difference between the local language of everyday use and English, the language of the imperial masters.